Hello guys, welcome back. In this video we're going to be talking about isosceles and equilateral triangles, so we're going to be doing some geometry today. So today, first let's talk about the isosceles triangle. So the isosceles triangle is a special type of triangle where we have at least two sides are congruent. Alright, so let's say these two sides are congruent. So knowing that these two sides are congruent, I can also say that these two base angles are going to be having the same measure. They're going to be also congruent. I can also reverse the situation where I can see any kind of triangle with these two base angles are congruent, and I can also say that these two sides are going to be congruent. So knowing this fact, that let's get to our first problem. In our first problem, we have a triangle, as you see there. This angle G and angle J are the base angles, and also look at that these two sides GH and JH are congruent with the same markings on them. So that's why if these two sides are congruent, then these base angles are going to be also congruent. So knowing this fact, that it's going to help us set up this equation. So the measure of angle G has to be equal to the measure of angle J. Then we know that the measure of angle G is x plus 44, and that's going to be equal to the measure of angle G, which is 3x, as you see. And then if I want to solve this equation for x, I have to get the x variables on either side of the equation. For example, I'm going to subtract x. So if I subtract x, I'm going to be getting 44 on this side, and then 3x minus x would be equal to 2x. Then I'm going to divide each side by 2. So when I divide each side by 2, x is going to be equal to 22. But this question is actually asking us to find what is the measure of angle G. So it's given as x plus 44. Then and then we found the x is equal to 22. So I'm going to take this number 22 and then plug it in for x right here. So the measure of angle G is going to be equal to 22 plus 44. So 22 plus 44 is going to be equal to 66. That's the measure of angle G. That's our first problem. Then let's get to the second problem. In our second problem, we have this triangle NMP. In this case, again, we see these two same markings on these sides, NM and PM. Then that actually can tell us that these two base angles are going to be congruent also, because of the isosceles angles theorem, isosceles triangles theorem. So if these two sides are congruent, then these two base angles are going to be also congruent. And then knowing this fact, and then we're going to be able to set up this equation. So the measure of angle N is going to be equal to the measure of angle P. So we know that the measure of angle N is 6y. And then we know that the measure of angle P is 8y minus 16. Alright. And now we're going to be solving this equation for y. So first of all, I'm going to add 16 to both sides. So when I add 16 to both sides, I'm going to get 16 plus 6y is going to be equal to 8y. Then we have to get these two like terms together on this side of the equation. So that's why, since it's positive, I'm going to subtract 6y. So when I subtract 6y, what I'm going to be left with on this side is just 16 is equal to 8y minus 6y, which is 2y. Then, as a last operation, I'm going to divide each side by 2. So when I divide each side by 2, I'll be getting y is equal to 8. Then also it says find the measure of angle N. So the measure of angle N is given, 6y. The measure of angle N is given 6y. Then I'm going to be taking this value, 8, and plug it in for y. So it's going to be 6 times 8. 6 times 8 would be equal to 48. So we can say that the measure of angle N is 48 degrees. So if this angle measures 48 degrees, this angle P will be also measuring 48 degrees. And if you see any question that is asking about the measure of angle M, so basically you're going to add these to 48 plus 48, you're going to get 96. And then since in any triangle all angles add up to 180, so that's why you're going to subtract 96 from 180. So when you do that, you're going to get 84 as the measure of angle M. Alright. Then, if there's no question, let's get to the third problem. In this third problem, so we have, again, this triangle, as you see, that with the same markings. Alright. And also, as you see that the length of DF is given like this, 6y plus 3, and the length of FE is given 8y minus 5, and these two angles also actually, look at that, congruent. If these two base angles are congruent, then the sides are going to be also congruent. So we can say that the line segment DF will be also congruent to line segment DE. So also, let's put this notation right here. So look at that. It turns out that all sides are congruent. If all the sides are congruent, then we're going to get equilateral triangle. Equilateral triangle. So what's that mean? Equilateral triangle. It's a triangle where we have all sides are congruent. So I can set up this equation. 6y plus 3 is going to be equal to 8y minus 5. Alright. Then, if I want to solve this equation, first of all, I'm going to add 5 to both sides. So when I add 5 to both sides, I'm going to get 6y plus 8 on the sides is going to be equal to 8y. Alright, because these two cancel each other out. Then, I'm going to subtract 6y to get the 8y and 6y together on this side. Then, 8 is going to be equal to 8y minus 6y will be equal to 2y. And if I divide each side by 2, then I'll be getting y is equal to 4. Alright, we got y is equal to 4. Then let's get to find what is x. So in this case, since knowing that these two base angles are congruent, and it turned out that these triangles in an equilateral triangle. Equilateral triangle is also equiangular triangle, which means where all angles are congruent, which is 60 degrees. So that's why this angle F will be also 60 degrees, angle E will be also 60 degrees, and angle D will be also 60 degrees. So I can set up this equation knowing this fact that 4x minus 8 will be equal to 60. Then we're going to add 8 to both sides. Then I got 4x is equal to 68. Then I'm going to divide each side by 4. So when I divide each side by 4, I'm going to get x equal to 17. Alright guys, thank you for watching this video. Hopefully that this video will help you out in the geometry classes. Thank you so much.